When I get judged, my fear, and I think this is what you were just talking about, is there is a missing piece of awareness that I want the other person to have.
No matter what you do in this world, when you put yourself out there, there's going to be people that they see you from the wrong light. They see you from an inaccurate light. Because in that specific light, in that specific context, it looks like I'm an arrogant boyfriend who doesn't want to hear Emilia's perspective.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another very special, as always, episode of Next Level University, where we teach you how to level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our latest episode. Episode number 1290, Your Story Matters Way More Than You Think. Today, for episode number 1291, a deeper dive into the fear of judgment. So, Alan and I just talked for like an hour, way longer than we should have based on the amount of things we are supposed to do today. But
oh yeah,
we were talking all about this and how there's many things that I feel like I understand from the listener's perspective better. And this might be one of the potentially few things I have a very weird thing about. So I'm just going to tell my story based on where this episode kind of came from. And then Alan's going to make sure that it actually resonates with the audience because, again, this is one that I think I have a weird relationship with judgment. I fear judgment in certain arenas. I don't in other ones. So this is my thought process. Last week, 2 weeks ago, I don't know when it was, I think I was getting ready to watch UFC. And I was thinking to myself, I've been good, I'm going to get myself a pizza. I don't really want to pay the $4 for delivery because there's a pizza shop, 5 minutes down the road. So I'm just going to go. I'm wearing pajamas. Mm-hmm. Which pajamas, I don't know. They could have been the T-Rex Santa Claus pajamas. They could have been the taco pajamas. They might have been the taco pajamas. I just have tacos on my pajamas. So I proceed to throw on my sandals with my socks on. Sandals and socks, kind of my comfortable swag. And then I just go down to the pizza shop and I go in, I get my pizza, I come back. Here's the interesting thing. Before I left, I had the thought process of people are most likely going to judge me. I'm going to roll in looking like a scrub. And I don't know, people are, potentially going to judge me, but whatever, I'm comfortable. I don't really feel like changing. And when I went out, in some weird way, I almost feel like me expecting somebody to judge me made me not afraid of the judgment. So that's kind of my story, where to start this from. I don't know if that's going to resonate with anybody. You know what? I was thinking of this while I was in the bathroom before this episode, Alan. I almost feel like maybe it's a defense mechanism, because it's like the 8 Mile thing, where if I talk badly about myself, you got nothing, you got no ammo. So that could potentially be something, because I was thinking to myself, if you said to me, hey, Kev, draw something, what's the first thing I'm going to say? It's not going to be very good. But whatever, like, what do you want me to draw? You want me to draw a giraffe riding a moped? Like, all right, cool, I'll do my best. It's going to be terrible. With me saying it's going to be terrible, I'm already prejudging myself. So I'm not really worried about of course it's not going to be good. I'm not an artist. Now, if you said, Kev, do an episode on a giraffe riding a moped, and then you came back and said that's the worst thing I've ever heard, I'm sure I would fear that judgment, or that judgment would hurt me worse. So I don't know. We did an episode recently on judgment. We wanted to do a deeper dive. I think I'm realizing that I don't understand as much the perspective from the audience, but I figured it would be a good place to start and kind of see where we end up.
I told Kev there's 3 camps, really 2 main camps, for lack of better phrasing, when it comes to judgment. There's the people who fear judgment, who admit that they fear judgment, and they know that holds them back. And they admit that. That's my favorite of the 2 camps. There's the other camp, and I've been in both, where they think they don't fear judgment. I don't care what people think. When in reality, that's their ego saying that, when deep down, they actually care what people think even more than Camp 1, which is ironic and fascinating. And maybe they let that hold them back, but in a different way. In other words, it holds them back from having great relationships and deep connections with others because they're deluding themselves into thinking they don't care. And so they're not as in touch with their heart. And so usually they're more successful, but less good at relationships. And again, I'm generalizing here. The third camp is what I'm talking about with Kev, where it's like interesting. It's like in certain arenas, you care a lot what people think and what our listeners think. And then other times, like not at all. And I don't get it. So I didn't want to like build an episode on it.
Yeah.
And I don't think you fully get it either, which I'm grateful you admitted. But what I would say is I think our listeners tend to be in the camp of, I do know I fear judgment. I do know that I care what people think. And it often controls me. And I don't want it to control me anymore. I think that's where people are. At least that's what I've seen. And that's where I evolved from camp 2, where it's like, I don't care what people think, to then going to camp 1 of like, well, wait a minute. I do care what people I care about think. And I was vulnerable and owned that. And then I started to work through that storm. And now I think I'm becoming someone who really does care what people think, but isn't going to let it stop me from speaking what's on my heart, even though that is difficult literally pretty much every day. Yeah, every single day. Every single day. And so, and here's the ironic thing, and I want to bring this high level for a second. I want you to be yourself. Kevin wants you to be yourself. We were talking before this episode. That is what I Know You is. It's like celebrating who you want to be, not who we think you should be. And you'll notice that's kind of what's a little different. There was a listener who reached out and said, we're not patronizing. Meaning we're not talking from our soapbox at like, we know that you should be what we think you should be. I think it's much less of that. And I know I've been guilty of that at times. But I know that it's a lot more of like, here's what we think works. Here's why we think it works that way. Here's what we believe is optimal. Here's both sides of it. And then you go choose for you based on what you want in life. I feel like that's more of what we are, rather than like, if you sleep 8 hours a night, you're lazy. Like that, whatever that crap is. And so what I want to share with the listeners is this story that really kind of hit my heart. And I want to be honest about how much it hit my heart, because I was surprised at how much it hit my heart. So I have another podcast called the Conscious Couples Podcast. And Emilia and I, Next Level Podcast Solutions, which is a part of our business, produces the Conscious Couples Podcast. And Emilia and I have these teaser clips that get created by our production team that are awesome. And there's a folder that these teaser clips come through. So we just surpassed our 60th episode. So there'd be one teaser clip for me per episode and one teaser clip for Emilia per episode. And, you know, you can do more or less for the potential clients out there, but we do one a week each. I always post the Alan ones. So it's like Alan episode 59. Okay. So then I post that and I put a little verbiage, and it's whatever I think will add value. One of my family members, extended family, reached out and commented. And she said, wow, I'd really like to hear more from Emilia. And I had this moment, Kev, of like, oh my God, she thinks the whole podcast is me talking. Because these teaser clips are always me talking. So people think that the Conscious Couples Podcast is constantly me not letting Emilia talk. And I was like, oh my God. And first of all, I ended up commenting back and I said, if you look at Emilia's page, it's all clips of her. These are just a small little teaser clip of the whole episode. And if you ever actually listened to the episodes, you'd know that. So again, that's my ego, but honestly. But she doesn't know podcasting. She doesn't know teaser clips. She doesn't know Next Level Podcast Solutions. So she doesn't know any of this. Turns out I have dinner with my mother. My mom thought the same thing. And it's like, oh crap. So everyone thinks the Conscious Couples Podcast is just Jeff with Emilia listening. And I had this moment of like real sadness of like, people must think I'm such a, like, you know, people must think I'm like, and I just had this moment of like, okay, now what do I do with this? If that's what people think, I had this moment. Should I post some of her clips? I actually have since. I've posted a couple clips with Emilia talking instead of just me. Because I just presupposed that everyone knows that those are clips of me and she has her own clips of her. And if you listen to the whole show, it's actually more her talking than me talking, right? Which is very different than this episode. I'm kidding. But I just had that moment of like, wow, no one really knows. It's so hard to translate your heart onto the social media and into the world in a way that people don't judge. I can't believe that my aunt actually thought that whole podcast is just me talking. So that was a really hard moment. And I want to admit to everyone that made me really hurt. It made me really sad to think that there's probably a bunch of people out there that think I don't let Emilia talk, when it's not true at all. If you listen to the actual episodes, Emilia's talking probably more than me. So I had this moment with myself. Do I let the judgment hold me back and stop posting these teaser clips? Or do I just deal with the fact that people are going to think what they think, and maybe eventually they'll learn the truth if they actually listen to the show? And so here's what I decided to do. I decided to occasionally post a clip of her and post her clips, and then have her post mine so that that's more clear. And I talked to her about it, and I don't know if she's posting my clips or not. I don't really care, quite frankly. But that was a really hard moment for me, where it's like, damn, like no matter what you do in this world, when you put yourself out there, there's going to be people that they see you from the wrong light. They see you from an inaccurate light. Because in that specific light, in that specific context, it looks like I'm an arrogant boyfriend who doesn't want to hear Emilia's perspective. Because that's what she said. I would really love to hear from Emilia. And it's like, of course, listen to the show. Right? But again, that's my story. It sucks. Putting yourself out there sucks. Real talk. Real talk. We share our love story at the beginning, very first episode, and both my family and her family called, and they're like, they had all these negative things to say, and it's unfortunate. It's true. And last thing I'll say, I have a client who's a podcaster, and she's like, I'm scared to drop my next episode. And I'm like, why? She's like, my mom and my aunt, they rip me apart every time I do. And behind the scenes, I said, F them. These are good. Like, there's so many people waiting for you that you're going to let them stop you, And again, I can't stand anyone who like holds people back from their dreams. But this is a thing. This is a thing people deal with. This is a thing everyone deals with, whether they admit it or not. And if you're out there and you're feeling the way that I felt in that moment, every time you try to do something new, you're not alone. You're not alone. It is the hardest part of this journey, in my opinion, is just be opening yourself up to attack. It sucks. And
it does.
It's really difficult not to armor up and just pretend you don't care, when in reality you do. You do.
I definitely, it's interesting. Like, I'm very curious if I have a unique perspective of, like, it's very clear anytime somebody would comment that, they're just looking to frustrate you. That's all I can see is, like, even the wording of it. It's like, you've never commented on anything else ever. This is the one thing you decide to comment on. You're not being constructive.
I know.
That's immediately so that gets pushed off into another folder of, like, I don't want to.
What does that do to your emotions? Because for me, it hurt.
It's not.
And don't get me wrong, I got frustrated, and then I commented, like, you should probably listen to the show then, or whatever.
Right.
But, and it motivates
I just think it's
me, but it does hurt first.
Yeah, I think it's a misunderstanding from the other person.
I tried to be kind, and I said, I tagged Emilia, and I said, Emilia has her clips on her page. If you want to listen to Emilia, go to her page. But, dude, honestly, I wonder if I should have done a little shield bump there of, like, well, if you ever listen to the show, you'd know that you'd hear from Emilia a lot. I wonder. I don't know. Or is that even worth it,
Yeah, that's probably not worth it. I don't know. I don't know what the right answer is. But when I hear something like that, it's very clear, to me at least, that this is just my interpretation. It's not meant to be constructive. It's most likely not going to be a constructive conversation that comes off of that. I wonder
this is the mirror for me lately, Kev, because that's what happens to me often. Like that kind of thing. And I never really give it back.
Well, I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know.
What would it be? Just ignore it completely?
No, understand. Understand, like, this isn't real. This isn't a real... It's not a valuable comment.
Yeah.
It's not real. It's not based in reality. It's not, I am interpreting this as something...
But if other people do think that would be negative, because then they'll never potentially give the show a chance.
That's fair.
And that that portrays me in a light that's not accurate.
That's also fair.
And if her ignorance is, and ignorance is a strong word, but like her lack of understanding, like she actually thinks the whole show is me talking. Like that's very ignorant.
Well, in my mind, that's why it's like, I think this is probably a very unique case of somebody who is just.
But my mom thought the same thing.
But your mom's not the target demographic.
That's true. That's true.
Right?
That's
so
fair.
that doesn't necessarily.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe for me, it's just, maybe I don't get that often. So for me, I just think about it differently. Now, there's certain things. I put up I think it was an Instagram reel and somebody reached out and it was like, oh, this guy acts like he's Tony Robbins, like do something with your life, whatever it was. And it's like, immediate reaction for me is, we're going to physically fight. That's the only thing we can do in this. Like, that's just my trigger. My trigger is, okay, like, cool, let's fight then.
Yeah.
That's just the way my brain naturally goes. And then I think when I get judged, and I really think this is why I started with the story I started with. I hope I can make this come full circle. When I get judged, my fear, and I think this is what you were just talking about, is there is a missing piece of awareness that I want the other person to have. And I was literally like thinking to myself, all you have to do is like YouTube my name and you'll see that because he said like, do something productive with your life. All you really have to do is YouTube my name and you'll see like, I'm on this microphone being productive all day, every day. But I didn't respond at all. But that, I think for me, it's almost like you're not judging the truth. That's the problem I have.
I know.
If you listened to the episode and said it's not for me, maybe it's not. Remember the person who this triggered me at the time, who said, I'm going to give this show 3 stars or 2 stars because the host screams at the beginning. Mm-hmm. For a long time, it hurts me. I don't like it, but I changed because it was like, honestly, yeah, you're probably right. Maybe you're right about that.
It was constructive.
I think.
Well, as much as it might have been an attack, it was accurate. There's something that you can learn from it. And I think there's something you can learn from every attack. I just think that
it's accurate. It was an accurate, whatever it was, the feedback was potentially accurate. If I decide that me wearing sandals, I already said, I'm wearing sandals and socks and taco PJs, and I'm just going to get my pizza. I don't not really expect to get judged.
I know.
So I almost feel like,
well, that's kind of like you telling them that you're short before you get to the date.
I think that's
the same idea.
Yeah,
like,
I don't think it's that I'm not
protector in
afraid of
advance.
judgment. I think it's I try my best to expect it, maybe.
Just meeting the people that there are to meet at Next Level Live made it worth it all on its own. Everybody there is incredibly supportive. Everybody there is not just strong, but also vulnerable and open, and also humble about how they're doing and where they're at in life, as well as where they've come from. So at any point, you don't feel intimidated or like you're lacking or like you're not as good as anybody else, because everybody has been at some point where you are, and everybody just wants to see each other thrive and do the best that they can.
Well, maybe that's also why you're so good with the joking. I think your humor. So, again, I'll bring everyone behind the scenes just a little bit. I've been doing therapy with someone who's an IFS therapist. It's internal family systems. I won't get too far into it, but we have these different parts. And essentially what my therapist had shared I thought was very valuable. She said, Alan, your intelligence has always been something that has protected you from trauma. And your challenging upbringing, your intelligence is kind of how you made it out from my perspective. I've done therapy with a lot of people, and not a lot of people get to where you are, having been through what you've been through, which I appreciate in some ways, but also I'm trying to learn. And I do think intelligence is something that I've always valued, partially because I love it, but also partially probably because I needed it to survive. But with Kev, I think humor. I think you're funny not just because you're funny. I think you're funny because that's how you protected yourself from being made fun of or getting hurt. Because if you make fun of you before I call it out, you're protected in a way. And I think humor is a protector for a lot of us, for sure. It's like, and on the Conscious Couples relationship talks events, they get really heavy. And whenever it's really heavy, I make jokes. And like purposely, because I want to make it a little lighter. Because it's like, if it's too heavy, it's going to be deconstructive. If it's not heavy enough, we're not going to grow. So I think you walk that line much better than you used to. Because if everything's a joke, you're never going to grow and be vulnerable and actually learn anything about yourself. But if nothing's a joke, you're going to always be sad all the time. And that's not fun. So I think humor is your main protector.
Yeah.
And I think mine is probably intelligence. And it makes sense because now we have a show where we're both trying to be deep and help people become more intelligent. And you know, I think we're also both pretty funny at times. I think you're probably funnier than me, but I'm doing the humdingers at the end of these episodes, which now I'm giving more thought to than the episode itself.
I was going to say, we've been getting some good feedback on that. So
you stay classy, Next Level Nation. Really quick. One of the team members behind the scenes was like, I was dying. I couldn't believe she was on Zoom with me. She's like, I was like, I had to like rewind it to double check that that's actually what you said. Did he just say stay classy, San Diego? Also, she's really in her early 20s. I don't think she's ever seen Anchorman. So fair. I doubt she knew the reference, right? He just say stay classy. But anyways, so I think that everyone does fear judgment on some level because social risk is processed by the brain as the same as social pain is processed by the brain the same as physical pain. That's like, there's a lot of research underneath that. And the reason why is because if you got ostracized from your tribe in the past, you would probably die because you're not going to survive a famine or hunt by yourself. Human beings are pack animals. We're supposed to be in tribes. And when you get ostracized, we've all been ostracized from the popular table or ostracized from the sports team or ostracized from, you know, and it's really difficult to like constantly be putting yourself out there in the public. What we do on this podcast, it's increasingly more difficult as more and more people become aware of who we are and what we do when it comes to fearing judgment, because people are coming out of the woodwork. Some people are saying wonderful things and other people are kind of just being, toxic a little bit. Like, hey, I know you wanted to achieve this by this date, but like, I just want you to know that, I'm sorry that didn't happen or that didn't work out for you. It's like, you don't realize that I could have achieved that and I chose not to. You're just kind of trying to like, I don't know, tear me down in this weird little roundabout backdoor compliment way. Whereas other people are like, honestly, I'm so blown away. And, you're going to get, like you said, Kev, kisses on the cheek and punches in the face. And, you got to understand that that's par for the course. And if you're going to put yourself out there, it's going to be vulnerable. It is. I don't know any other way around it. It's kind of like, can I weather this storm? Am I strong enough in my own heart, my own soul to weather this storm? And you got to kind of just say, yeah, let's do this thing. And don't do it all at once. That's what I would say. Don't do it all at once. Make it a staircase. Do not make it a trampoline. I'm telling you.
It's very interesting that you that you use the punch on one cheek, kiss on the other cheek, because I punch myself in the face when I do boxing sometimes. I wonder if that's just what it is for me, is like I beat myself up worse than anybody else is going to. Not physically. I wonder that. I went to the dermatologist today because I have a couple moles on my back that Taryn suggested I get looked at as my loving wife. And I had a moment, and this is a different moment for me. And I don't know what this means. I'm happy to walk through it in the remaining minutes we have. But the nurse was like, all right, just take your shirt off, and when the doctor comes in, he'll take a look. And I was like, oh no, I'm so out of shape. This guy's gonna be like this pudgy, this pudgy man here in my office. And I was like, that's on you, man. That's your own damn fault for not. And then that was kind of it. I was like, well, that is what it is. If that's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. That was my thought process at my, what was it, 8:30 a.m. appointment today. I don't know. I don't know if that's, did that person judge me? Maybe. I don't know. Probably not more than I judge myself. I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, if you're judging yourself harder than other people will judge you, as a defense mechanism, I would say, where is that constructive and where is that destructive, right? Is that where the self-worth issues come? And maybe the reason why you say, it's interesting, because I judge myself pretty harshly, would you say?
Definitely. I would say, I think you judge yourself harder than anybody I know. You judge yourself, I would say, harder than me. I'd have to say that. Yeah.
Do you think that's why speeches with me are harder than speeches without me?
Definitely.
Because if I'm judging myself hard in front of people, they assume I'm judging them as harshly? No way. I don't hold them to my standard. That was a breakthrough. Interesting.
That I don't know. No,
do you think I'm judging you as hard as I'm judging myself? Because I'm not.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, I do. I do think that. Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Well, I kind of want you to.
If I was, you'd be in some trouble. I'm kidding. No,
but
I'm joking.
I think there's a part of me that wants you to. In a way, it's like I want to be.
But it's not let's do this real quick. It's not like a toxic judgment.
No.
It's like a judgment of I believe in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I don't think it's negative.
Yeah, I don't like. I know you can do better. It's not me. What's the difference? Because, okay, that person who reached out and commented, I'd really love to hear from Emilia. It's not constructive. It's not because she believes in me more and wants to see me win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas my judgment on you, I want to make this clear with the listeners. My judgments are because I believe in you, because I want to help you grow and become better. It's not like my clients. If I'm judging you, it's because I want you to try to become better. I know you're capable of more. It's not like a toxic, you're not good enough. There's none of that crap. I hope. I mean, I hope no one takes it that way.
No, I don't think anybody would.
Okay. But yet, I don't feel like, and that's one thing I'm very concerned with lately, because I told Kevin this. I said, I don't like attack people. I don't go out of my way to comment. Have you ever done that? Have you ever commented negative stuff on any?
Not to my recollection. I don't think so. I can't imagine I have. No.
Yeah. I don't go out of my way to attack people. Even when they say some really, I mean, I've seen some humdingers come through social media that are really inappropriate. But I don't, it's not my place to I don't know. It's interesting. I think that we're all perceived a little bit inaccurately.
For sure.
Honestly. And I think that's why this is so hard, because take anyone and their little sliver of their anything, and it's not the whole truth. It's not who they are. It doesn't encapsulate who they are. Yeah, so this is the hardest part of this journey, in my honest opinion. If we were business owners behind the scenes that made a product and sold the product, it would be easier, I think. Genuinely. And don't get me wrong, that's not what I want to do. I love self-improvement and I want to do this. But it's harder because it's us.
Yeah. It's very vulnerable.
We're the ones putting ourselves, it's not like you're saying, hey, the phone screen, can we make it bigger? It's kind of like, hey, you're not a good person. And again, that's not necessarily what they're saying, but some people are. Some people are attacking me in that way. So it sucks. It's the worst. But
yeah, I don't know. This is an interesting episode.
If you're going to inspire people, you got to be willing to take the
for sure
the punches. Go ahead.
For sure. Sorry. No, you're good. I think there's also a lag. I don't know. Your video froze a couple times. I think there's a lag going on too, which makes it weird. What the connection I'm having, and then we'll get out of here because it's already been a half hour almost. If I take ownership before something happens, I think it's very hard for me to actually care about the judgment, because it's it's true. That's true. It's just truthful. It's real. That's real. Yeah, you're right.
But when they say something that's not true, it does hurt you.
Yes.
Because it's not true.
Yeah.
What if that's why I get so upset? When you've witnessed me get so upset by the attacks, they're so not true. That person saying I'm taking advantage of people. It's it's not true. So of course I'm going to get.
Yeah.
I can't take ownership for that. I'm not. I'm really not. I'm working really hard to not, and to make sure I'm helping everyone. So again, I don't know. This is hyper conscious of us learning about ourselves on this one. So hopefully the listeners are taking some value.
I think everything's deeper than somebody's judgment of you comes through the judgment of themselves first. So I don't know if it's ever going to be truly accurate. It's like somebody said that. It's like somebody said this. I got another one a while ago. It was like this person acts like they're saving people's lives or whatever. And it's like, little do they know, I was literally on the phone with somebody who was suicidal like that week. It's like I actually did, quote unquote, potentially save someone's life,
100%.
But of course I can't expect you to know that. How would you ever know that? You couldn't possibly know that.
Why is that person reaching out to you saying that? Is it
because they're unhappy?
Yeah.
We just, and this is kind of, and we'll end here because this is going to be a long one if we don't. We did the episode recently on the 6 basic human needs.
Yeah.
Because that makes you significant. When somebody posts a picture in a bikini and you comment something negative, you are the most significant post out of all of, or the most significant comment out of all of them, most likely. Unfortunately, because it's the one that makes you feel the most emotion. Unfortunately, I think that's why a lot of people send the energy they do, because it allows them to be significant. And again, I'm trying my best. I always try to have empathy for that. My initial reaction is triggered, fight, flight, freeze, fawn. I would like to fight. That's my choice. Virtually. I don't know if it would be like that in person. Who knows? But that's my natural tendency. And then it's like, all right, why is this person actually doing this? Because something about this post triggered something inside of them. Not necessarily the thing that I wanted. Maybe I wanted to trigger inspiration or motivation or whatever it may be. Obviously, that didn't happen. Well, okay, unfortunately. Then they went a step above and reached out. It's like they must be looking for some level of significance, and I am the punching bag today for that. Now, again, it doesn't happen that quickly.
And if you overreact, you're probably giving them the significance they want.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
That's fair.
Instead of just moving forward and sailing away from the toxicity.
Deep episode.
Fire.
Deep episode.
I wrote this question down. How much is the fear of judgment holding you back? That's it.
It's a great question.
How much is the fear of judgment holding you back? If it's a 10, you gotta go from 10 to 9 to 8 to 7 to 6 to become your best self. You are not alone in this. I coach a lot of people. Everyone has this, at least to some extent, including me and Kevin.
Yep. Next level nation. If you are looking for a place free of judgment, we are, and we were talking about this before, like this, I think this is really what makes us different. And we're trying to make this a differentiator for us. We just want you to be you. Really, I don't want you to be any type of person. I don't want you to be any type of way. I just want you to be you, and I want you to feel like you can be the authentic, vulnerable, aligned version of yourself. Because that's what Alan and I are trying to be, right? Like, that's really what we're trying to be every day. It's a little bit different on these microphones, and it's hard at times, but that's what we want for you. Please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation, if you are looking for that. We do not accept any negativity, no bullying, none of that. We're in there every day. We will make sure you're safe, and that's our goal. That's our mission. That's our job.
I posted a little mini sort of excerpt one time, a live video in Next Level Nation, reading a story that always gets me crying, gets me going. And someone posted a rude, sort of toxic comment, and then Kevin had booted them that night. So he texted me, he said he's gone. And so we didn't know this at the time, but that's really what Next Level Nation is a bully-free zone where you get to be yourself, and we're not going to let anyone attack you for it. That's it. The only thing you can't do in Next Level Nation is attack other people. You get to be yourself as much as you want, but you don't get to attack anyone else. And that's it. That's the only way you'll ever get booted, too, is if you're attacking other people and being disrespectful. So, Next Level Live, as you know, there's an event. We are in peak week. Mm-hmm. And, Kev, when's this episode dropping?
This episode is dropping on Thursday.
Thursday. So that means in 2 days from today, we are going to be in the room for Next Level Live 2023. If you are local, come meet us. Come meet the other listeners. Come have a blast. Photo booth, food and coffee, music, 3 different speeches, 3 different groups, green group, yellow group, red group, breakout sessions, guidebook. It's going to be awesome. Please join us. The link will be in the show notes. This is the last time we're going to plug this. So now's your chance. And reach out to Kevin and myself if you have any problems with the landing page or anything whatsoever.
Next Level Nation tomorrow for episode number 1292. Where do you feel the need? Where do you feel you need, the most permission right now? I was on a podcast and we talked about permission and how that shaped many of the decisions of my life, some of the hardest decisions in the hardest time. So join that episode. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We'll talk to you all tomorrow.
You keep fighting the good fight, Next Level Nation.